Hey, what's up, guys? Jordan Schumacher here. So I just got an email from Saul, and he had a couple questions about drop shipping. First of all, I'm not really the right person to ask about drop shipping because I don't do it, and I'm not really an advocate of it. But I will answer those questions because I have the context and I can answer those questions. And so the question was, I was just wondering if you could give me advice on the basics. For example, do I need to set up a business entity before I open my store on Shopify? The answer to that is no. Don't even worry about setting up a business entity until you have profitable revenue coming in. Um, as far as the basics, so drop shipping, if you're not familiar, is the most common business model is pretty much going to AliExpress.com, finding a product that you like, or going to another dropshipper's website and stealing their best-selling products, finding them on AliExpress, setting up a store, running ads to those products, and then basically communicating to your customers that, look, this is going to take a while for us to ship because it's so popular, or whatever bullshit excuse most of these dropshippers are coming up with. And then basically when you get a purchase, you go to AliExpress, you buy it from AliExpress, tell them to ship it to the address of your customer, and voila, drop shipping. You've managed to arbitrage the underpriced cost of ad inventory on Facebook to sell a product, and that is what it is, right? There's no real competitive advantage in that model of drop shipping. You're not doing anything that anyone else in the world with internet access can't also do, and so that's all there is to it, really. You set up a site, you find products that you think are going to sell well, you do a lot of testing, and you hope that one of them catches traction with a certain audience, and then you scale from there. I would caution you, Saul, and anyone else who's thinking about getting into dropshipping as a way to start working for yourself. I would caution you to think about the long-term viability of dropshipping as a business model, right? And so if you go to Google Trends and you type in dropshipping, you're going to see that the search interest for dropshipping goes like this, right? It's just shoots up exponentially. We're right now at the highest point of search interest for dropshipping ever, or at least in the last 5 years. And that's simply because there is way more money to be made teaching people how to dropship than there is in dropshipping itself. And so I don't see there being there's no competitive advantage in dropshipping. Like, by definition, if you're going to AliExpress and dropshipping, you're not doing anything that someone else can't do immediately, and just copy you. And in any marketplace where there's no competitive advantage like that, it's a race to the bottom. So you have basically a race to the bottom on prices of dropshipping sales prices, right? And then you have increasing costs of advertising on Facebook over time. And so ultimately your margins are just getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And so what you need to understand is that all of these case studies that you're reading about, people doing 6 figures a month drop shipping, assuming that those numbers aren't just straight up bullshit, which most of them are, like literally straight up fraudulent numbers. They go in and they either Photoshop or just right click. Like, I can show you how to do it. You literally just go to your page, your Shopify page, you right click, inspect, go look at the code, and just change the code to say the numbers that you want, and then it reflects it on your screen if you're in Google Chrome, and then you just screenshot that. Like, it's incredibly easy to fake these numbers. And so assuming that the numbers the numbers from the case studies that you're reading are true, you need to understand that the margins on those are ridiculously small, like less than 10%. And so, yeah, if someone's doing 100K a month in sales, they might be profiting maybe 10K, which is still a good income, right? But based on the number of dollars that they're risking in ad spend per month, which is going to be like probably 60K in ad spend, like, that's not a great return. That's a huge risk. And you just need to go into it with that understanding that you need to do ridiculous volume in order to actually turn a profit. Now, if you're going and like actually acquiring products and branding them, that's a different story entirely. Like if you go to Alibaba, you work with a manufacturer, you get your brand slapped on something, then all of a sudden that becomes a more interesting problem where you can actually do some branding, you can actually do some marketing to differentiate yourself, and actually use your brand as a competitive advantage. That's perfectly viable, and retailers do that all the time. Like you look at Yeti, it's been proven time and time again that they're like Yeti, the coolers and the mugs and everything. It's been proven multiple times that their products are very inferior to other products on the market, but because they've branded themselves so well and because they're so freaking expensive, people still continue to buy them because they associate price with value. And so like that's a perfect example of something you can do. I wouldn't recommend getting into the Yeti space, but you can go to Alibaba, you can find a product like that, you can have them brand it with your brand and then sell it in that fashion. That's a much more viable business strategy, but it takes a lot more work, right? And so assuming that when you say you want to get started in drop shipping, and by drop shipping, you mean go to AliExpress and just do the bare minimum version, lowest common denominator version of drop shipping possible. I would say that if you go into it with the expectations of breaking even at best, using it to learn digital marketing and then use that as like a case study to either get new clients or move into some other field, that's awesome. But if you are doing it as drop shipping is my end goal, I'm going to build my life around this and build my, online empire around this, I would caution you to consider that 98% of the reason that you hear online everywhere that drop shipping is such a great business model is because all of those people are selling their own courses, or affiliates for courses, or are in some way, or affiliates for Shopify, or are in some way monetizing that information and that content and that message that drop shipping is just this lucrative, super easy way to go from rags to riches and make money. Now, 3 years ago, was it? Maybe. Facebook ads were dramatically cheaper 3 years ago, and so there's a lot more margins to play, but it's becoming such a saturated market that it's really, really difficult to differentiate yourself, and it's really, really difficult to build something sustainable that lasts more than a few months. Now, so like that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Like if you go into it with that expectation and like, hey, this is just a side project, like hopefully maybe in a few months I make a couple grand, and then I can use this experience and invest that cash into something else. Like that's cool. That's totally fine. I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there about the realities of drop shipping, and there's a lot of fraud out there, like straight up fraud by a lot of these guys who are spreading the message that drop shipping is the way to go, and I think it's misleading a lot of people. And so I understand that this video is probably going to be pretty unpopular with a lot of people, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments about, oh, I've made so much money dropshipping, and that's cool. Like I believe that it's possible. Like I know people that do, but those are the very small minority of people, and the majority of people who say that they've had massive successes dropshipping are either selling their consulting, coaching, or selling a course, or are affiliates for all of the above, and are monetizing that message in some way. And anytime you see more people making more money on how to do something than actually doing it themselves, it's generally a red flag and something to consider. So it's a little bit of a rant. Saul, you got more of an answer than you probably wanted. Look, if you want to do this, go for it. Like, prove me wrong by all means, but that's just, it's a trend that I've been seeing, and I've been seeing a lot of stories of, frankly, people who were taken advantage of. And there's just a lot of people who portray one thing about how successful their business actually is, but the reality is almost all of their profit comes from training about drop shipping, and they just do drop shipping as like a front end advertisement, really. And so that's something that a lot of people who aren't in the digital marketing space don't realize, especially if they're new to it. And I think it's important that, like, there's nothing wrong with that business model. There's nothing wrong with teaching people how to do something. Like, fuck, colleges charge you 50 grand and teach you stuff that's mostly irrelevant. But it's important that people understand the business model behind it so that they can weigh the pros and cons and make their own decisions. So yeah, this is a little bit of a rant, but I hope you got value out of it. If you agree with me, let me know down below. If you disagree with me, love to hear about it, and we can argue in the comments. But yeah, that's all I got. If you found value in this video, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I'd love it if you subscribed. It means a lot to me. And if you're not a member of my community on Facebook, it's a totally free Facebook group called Marketers or Founders Only. There's a link down below. Love it if you could join. A lot of value in there every day. That's all I've got. Take it easy.